Hello everyone, Steve here, back with another tabletop baseball video. Um, so today's video is about History Maker Baseball and a homebrew idea that I came up with over the last day or so. I recently bought History Maker Baseball 1998 set of cards and game secondhand, so I want to give it a try. I did about a year and a half ago take a look at History Maker Baseball and did some review, particularly about their how-to guide, how to rate players. And so, feel free to check that out. So, what got me started on this is our friend Kurt had published a video about History Maker Baseball. I think it's a members only video the last day or so, and then he published a part 2 as well. And that got me thinking about History Maker Baseball, combined with the fact, as I said, that I just bought some cards. So the rabbit hole that I went down related to what I'm calling the primary pitcher qualities or ratings. And those ratings are ace and star for the good pitchers, and workman and struggler for the less good pitchers, if that's a word. So there are 4 major categories, or if he's an average pitcher, his rating for these will be blank. He won't have one of these ratings. And so, like I said, I just was going down a path basically to try to satisfy in my mind what the best way is to assign these pitcher qualities. Just as an aside, but an important aside, if you're an ace or a star or a semi-ace or a semi-star, on the play boards, the play guide, I guess they call it, either of these qualities above the line will create automatic outs for the plate appearance. And then you're done and you move on to the next batter. And on the other side of the coin, if the person is a workman or a struggler or semi-workman, semi-struggler, they will add hits, explicit hits to the play result, and then if none of these apply, then you move on to the batter column. So that's how it works. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that about History Maker Baseball, but the point really is, particularly as it relates to all 4 categories, is the hits that are added are almost always singles, and then the outs are various types of outs. And as I mentioned, History Maker Baseball, a good feature of History Maker Baseball is they give you a how-to guide, and it is a guide. That's the operative word, and it can guide you to make your own cards and players and teams to be played with History Maker Baseball. As it relates to these primary pitcher ratings or qualities that I just mentioned, the how-to guide suggests using an ERA to assign the pitcher rating. And if I recall correctly, it's actually, they show an actual scale. I don't have the guide with me, so I'm going from memory. But, it's pretty straightforward. Now, for some reason in the back of my head, though, I had the question, is ERA the right thing, the right basis upon which to assign the pitcher rating? And based on the work I've done in the last day or so, I'm leaning toward the idea that actually batting average against is probably a better metric. But that was a kind of a preliminary conclusion, nothing definitive, and I didn't even get so far as to suggest a scale that you would use to assign the ratings based on batting average against. So I did record a video last night about that whole process. I wasn't satisfied with it. I showed it to a friend, shared my reservations. He shared his reservations. And so I never published the video. But there were two things that came out of that whole project, and I'm going to talk about both of them here in a second. The first thing is, you know, in the rule book, there is an important clarification regarding the semi-ace quality that some pitchers would have. And so the first item is a clarification. And with that clarification, it helps make sure that the semi-ace rated pitcher pitches better than the next slot below, which would be a star rated pitcher. And so that helps in that regard. And so that's more or less just a clarification in the rules, which all this information on this slide came from the frequently asked questions page of the on the Plaay website. In that same FAQ, there is a rule suggestion, and that is another way to get semi-ace pitchers to have more automatic outs. And I would suggest using both of these based on my analysis in order to properly slot the semi-ace pitcher results. And so you can read this at your leisure. And my strong suggestion is that if you play History Maker Baseball, you apply both of these rules. So that was one good outcome from my work. Before I go on, I'll mention that Plaaygames themselves recorded a YouTube video. Keith narrated this video that explains more philosophically about how the how-to guide works and how ratings are assigned. And I think it's important context for how they view the game and how they assign ratings. I know not everybody likes History Maker Baseball. I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm intrigued by it. As Kurt alludes in his video, which is the next link here, there's more to it than meets the eye. I'll put all these links in the description to this video. I encourage you to click on those links. I did a History Maker Baseball video. I think I alluded to this a year and a half or more ago, talking about the how-to guide and how the ratings could be assigned. And then the last link is that frequently asked questions document that I referred to. So let's continue. Well, before we continue, always appreciate your comments. I think that's really the value in me posting these videos, is that people interact and share their thoughts. If you even if you don't like the video, you can feel free to comment. But if you do like it, feel free to hit the thumbs up or even subscribe to the channel. And I do make available the PowerPoints for these videos on my Google Drive, so you just have to email me. Okay, so my homebrew idea. So my premise is that sims best reflect a pitcher's performance when all these things are reflected somehow in his ratings. And that would be the walk rate, the strikeout rate, the hits allowed rate, and the home runs allowed rate. And so many sims, particularly the vintage ones, got the first three included, but many didn't include the pitcher's influence on the home runs allowed. And I do think that's pretty important. As best I can tell, with the exception of possibly the struggler rating for the pitcher, pitchers in History Maker Baseball don't affect the home run rate. that the batter achieves. And so, you know, if that's true, I think there's room for improvement. So my idea was that you could assign a quality to pitchers who either give up a lot of home runs or don't give up very many. And you'll see on the next page my suggestion for those ratings and the names for those. And the concept is that if these pitchers have these ratings, they get applied as adjustments to certain batter results. So the basic idea is that certain home runs could become doubles for stingy pitchers, and certain doubles could become home runs for pitchers who give up a lot of home runs. And two prime examples I have here is Greg Maddux, who's historically gave up very few home runs. And then you had Catfish Hunter, particularly in 1973, who gave up a lot of home runs. So with that, here's an example of what that could look like. So I came up with 4 names for the pitchers that have other than average rates of giving up home runs. The most constricted or restrictive pitchers in terms of home runs allowed would be stingy. If you give up less than average home runs, but not extremely low home runs, we'll call him tight. And then if you give up slightly above average home runs, you're going to be loose. And if you give up a lot of home runs, you're going to get the gopher quality for gopher ball. And this is a straw man for how that would work. So for the most part, these are applied to results in the fielder column. And so what I show here is what the default result is. It's mostly home runs and doubles as the default that I've proposed an adjustment to. And then so for like 1-1-1, the stingy pitcher and the tight pitcher, in both those quality pitchers would change a home run to a double, whereas the loose and the gopher pitcher would leave it as a home run. Conversely, 2-2-2 and 4-4-4 are doubles on the board or on the result playbook. Those would remain doubles for the stingy and tight pitchers, but become home runs for the loose and the gopher pitcher. And then you can see there's similar adjustments down the road here, down the columns or rows. But in the case of like 5-5-6, that's only changes to a home run for the gopher pitcher, not anybody else. And so on. I did, in order to balance things out, I did also have one batter result that would get adjusted from a home run to a double, and that's if somebody had the slugger quality on roll 2-3-3, the stingy pitcher would turn that into a double as well. So that's the basic idea. How hard or easy it would be to consider this in gameplay is to be determined, although a lot of these results are the triple digit results in the fielder column: 1-1-1, 2-2-2, 6-6-6, 4-4-4, 5-5-5. Maybe it would be easy enough to remember, maybe not. I do emphasize this is just an example. It really would require either more mathematical analysis than I have done or more play testing than I've done to see if this makes sense. It's possible. I've made the stingy and the tight pitchers too limiting on home runs, and conversely, it's possible that I've made the loose and the gopher pitcher allow too many home runs. So, I think that deserves further study if this is something that you're interested in. And I'd be glad to compare notes if this is something you want to pursue on your own. So how do you assign these ratings? So again, don't take this too literally. I did do some math. but I guess I wouldn't take this too literally. But the one thing I thought of is you probably would need a rating scale depending on the decade of the pitchers. And I did 3 different decades here. I did the 70s, I did the 90s, and I did the 2020s, which were only 5 years or so, 5 full seasons into. But what you can see across the bottom there is the average rate of home runs, and I express this as home runs as a percent of hits, has increased over time. And so, you can see there that already in the current decade, that rate is up to 14.2%, where it was only 8.3% on average in the 70s. I've probably done the most analysis here on the 90s, and in particular on 1998, because that's the season of cards that I bought. And what the rating scale essentially represents is if you're within a half a standard deviation above or below the average, then you're not going to get a rating. It's going to be blank. And in the 90s, you see that would be a rate of 8.8% to 13%, which kind of surrounds the average of 11.0%. So then if you're going to be tight, you're half a standard deviation better than the average. And if you're going to be stingy, you're at least 1 full standard deviation better than the average. And on the other side, the loose is a half a standard deviation worse than the average, and then a full standard deviation makes you a gopher pitcher. And I just listed 2 examples here, but Greg Maddux, my favorite example, his rate was 6.5%, which gets him into the stingy category. Actually, the cutoff is really 6.5999%, because 6.6 is what gets you to the tight. So he sneaks into the stingy category. Part of the reason why he gives up few home runs is also because he gives up few hits. But even his rate of home runs per hit was low. So he would get a stingy rating. One of the guys who gave up the most home runs in the season was Pedro Estacio, and his hit rate or home run rate per hit was 15.9%. So that gives him comfortably into the gopher range. Now, if you're a student of baseball, you would know that he pitched in Colorado. So I'm sure that has boosted his rate. And I haven't really tried to adjust for ballparks here. That said, he was not a good pitcher. He gave up way more hits than innings pitched. What did he have? I think he had a high number of hit by pitches and so on. So he just was not a good pitcher. His ERA might have been in the 6 range. I don't know. So, he probably legitimately needs this gopher rating. So that's the idea. It could be refined some more. Maybe as I play a little bit more History Maker Baseball, I can, use this as a test case as well and see if this makes any sense and see if it would need to be revisited. But I wanted to share, the benefits of me being in the lab and doing some research. So hopefully you found this interesting. That's really all I had for today, and appreciate your listening as always. And again, comment if you have any comments at all on this video. Thank you.